Have you ever heard of a guy who killed 100 lions just to show off, but then went to the temple to wash a statue's feet? Yeah, that was a pharaoh, a real one. You see, aside from eternally sleeping in tombs, pharaohs were busy as hell. But what does a day look like when you're part god, part CEO, and part warlord? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out. We'll take a peek at the daily life of a pharaoh and follow him from sunrise to sleep. First off, at dawn, the pharaoh wakes in his palace, maybe in Malkata, or maybe in Memphis. He is surrounded by gardens, audience halls, and rooms so lavish they'd make your jaw drop. In Amenhotep, the third suite at Malkata, the floors were painted with Nile scenes, and the ceiling displayed protective goddesses. Not exactly minimalist decor. Then servants move in. They bathe him, oil him, dress him in fine linen while spritzing perfumes and applying cosmetics. One official even held the fancy title, Chief of the Scented Oils. Yes, that was a thing. So now, the pharaohs draped in jewelry, kohl, royal collars, amulets, and that iconic striped names headdress. Medjay bodyguards, who were once Nubian scouts who became palace security, stand watch at the doors. Reliable types they were. And as the pharaoh readies himself, royal kids or even the queen pop in. Queens like Tie had chambers nearby. However, the harem was located over in a different wing, because privacy. Then the pharaoh might grab a quick word over breakfast with the great royal wife. We've actually got art of Pharaoh Tut being anointed by Ankhesenamun. So yes, cozy family vibes happened. And now, once he is fully regaled, the pharaoh steps out. He is flanked by officials and is ready for the day. Next stop, the audience hall, his throne room. In Amarna, it featured a window of appearance where Akhenaten and Nefertiti addressed the people, sort of like a palace drive-by wave session. But only top-tier officials and foreign envoys got the VIP treatment inside. And inside, he sits elevated on a platform, surrounded by powerful symbolism. Take Amenhotep III again. There were floors showing bound captives, which was a literal, "we own them" statement. And as for visitors, they bow flat in full prostration. Vassal letters often go, "I fall at your feet 7 times and 7 times. Dramatic much? Nearby, the vizier stands, and scribes are at the ready to record every word. You know, by the New Kingdom, Egypt had 2 viziers, one for upper, one for lower. Daily briefs usually cover taxes, legal disputes, and state projects. Vizier Rekmoa's tomb shows scribes tracking laborers and overseers, reporting on canals, temples, or quarries. So yes, they had quite the busy day. Next, treasurers, architects, and army generals file in. The pharaoh issues commands, asks questions, and approves blueprints or stamps justice. He might grant tombs, decree announcements, or even pardon crimes. And all of this would get etched later on stele. Now, though the vizier handled most cases, ultimate authority stayed with the pharaoh. Justice, after all, flowed from him. Foreign affairs took up the morning court next. Envoys from vassal states and far-off lands arrived bearing tribute like horses, vases, giraffes, yes, giraffes, baboons, gold, lapis, and other luxury goods. Tomb scenes in Rekhmar's burial show the whole spectacle. These visitors bowed low and praised the pharaoh, and he accepted their gifts, then often sent gold back. Now, we know this because the Amarna letters reveal foreign rulers pleading for Egyptian gold. A bureau of correspondence usually handled those messages. And you know, some 382 Akkadian-written clay tablets survive from Akhenaten's reign. One message might ask for a marriage alliance, another asking for troops to quash unrest. And as always, the pharaoh dictated responses, whether it's distributing gifts, warnings, or reinforcements. Meanwhile, by late morning, after all petitions have been heard and orders sealed, the pharaoh leaves the throne room. Time for religion? So he steps out of the palace to perform temple rituals and secure the gods' favor. Priests handled daily rites, but the pharaoh was the official high priest. Reliefs show him making offerings himself. And so he proceeds, flanked by priests and guards, into a major temple. Maybe Karnak in Thebes, or Ptah's temple in Memphis. Even Malkata had its own temple, built by Amenhotep III, within the palace walls. And inside the dim, incense-infused sanctuary, the main ritual unfolds. A priest, or the pharaoh himself, washes, dresses, and then offers food and drink to the statue. The pharaoh might pour water, burn incense, and lay out bread, beer, and meat. If called for, a pure bull is sacrificed. For instance, this one time a pharaoh consulted Amun's oracle and offered a bull on divine instruction. Reliefs also show Seti I and Rameses III offering incense. Now, the sanctuary would often be sealed. Only select clergy and the pharaoh attend. The offerings symbolically nourish the deity. And if there are any leftovers, they go to the temple staff. Now, not all pharaohs were super religious. Some pharaohs typically appeared on big festival days or key calendar events. Some ceremonies were ultra-rare but crucial. The said festival, for example, would be held after 30 years on the throne. It was a ritual reboot for the pharaoh. It involved offerings, ceremonial running, and reaffirming rule over Upper and Lower Egypt. Pepi I carved his said festival into stone. Amenhotep III celebrated it 3 times. Its reliefs still grace palaces and temples today. Now, by midday, the pharaoh's sacred duties are concluded. The gods are honored, and cosmic order is upheld. He then leaves the temple and heads back to the palace for food, rest, and whatever comes next. And yes, he eats well. Excavations at places like Malkata show extensive kitchens filled with bread ovens, storage rooms, and basically full-scale food operations rushing behind the scenes. On his plate, you'd usually find white bread, roasted meats like beef or goose, and whatever fruits or vegetables are in season. Figs, lentils, cucumbers, you know, the usual suspects. Beer is standard fare, but the pharaoh has a range. He also drinks imported wine, some of it aged in massive cellars. Amenhotep III had a wine list that could humble a French chateau. Now, meals are private, but not solitary. The pharaoh is usually joined by family or a few close officials. Servants stand by. Sometimes musicians play. Then, after eating, it's downtime, or what counts as downtime for a living god. Hunting is a favorite. Amenhotep III once bragged he'd killed 102 lions and 96 wild bulls in the early years of his reign. Now, he may have been exaggerating, but the point was all about order, triumphing over chaos, symbolic dominance over the wild. The pharaoh might also hop into a chariot, ride out to the desert, and hunt gazelles near Memphis, or waterbirds near Thebes. Real targets, using real arrows. We see it in tomb art. Tutankhamun, bow drawn, chariot in motion. And if he's not out hunting, the pharaoh might be training archery, wrestling, or chariot drills. New Kingdom pharaohs had to look the part, as though they were military leaders, physically sharp, ready to fight, even if they mostly left that to generals. Amenhotep II took it to extremes. Inscriptions claim he shot arrows through copper targets from a moving chariot and outrode 200 men with a single oar. Sure, maybe. Either way, the stories stuck because they fed the image of the pharaoh as an ultimate athlete, the unmatched warrior, the one who's physically chosen by the gods. So, our pharaoh spends part of the afternoon working up a sweat. Weapon drills, horse races, sparring with guards, then it's back to business. The pharaoh might also tour construction projects like temples, tombs and statues, all carved in his name, all built to last forever, or close enough. At the site, he steps from his chariot, flanked by guards. Workers bow, overseers report progress. We've got records of Thutmose III personally overseeing obelisks at Karnak. Amenhotep III inspected his own massive lake and colossi. They were more like performances. The pharaoh showing up to say, "This is mine. This will stand long after I'm gone." Afternoons might also include a Nile sail, a chance to wave at the people, let them catch a quick look at the divine. But then, back home, the palace gardens offer a slower pace under the shade. Pools, trees. He strolls, maybe with a child or a small dog in tow. Amarna art shows Akhenaten doing just that, lounging with his daughters, handing out grapes. Very human. Now, these moments weren't often recorded, but they probably happened. And by late afternoon, the pharaoh might visit a wife, or unwind to some harp music. After all, even the gods took time to rest. And as the sun sinks behind the horizon, the pharaoh heads into one last ceremony. He burns incense, sings a hymn or two to Re, or Aten, depending on which sun god's getting top billing that day. This is a symbolic good night to the sun, a little divine insurance that it'll rise again tomorrow and keep the whole cosmic machine running. Then after that, he's done. Evenings are quieter. Sometimes it's a banquet night, full of wine flowing, music in the air, and dancers doing their thing. Sometimes nobles or visiting envoys show up, maybe someone trying a little too hard to impress. But most nights, however, were much simpler. The pharaoh eats with his wife, maybe the kids if they're around. Musicians still play background ambiance, while the royal family eats dinner like anyone else, just with better silverware. Then, after the meal, there's more downtime. And that's when the games come out. Senet, Mehen, board games that look oddly intense. Tutankhamun had a few in his tomb, which tells you how much they liked them. Or maybe how much they hated being bored in the afterlife. Later on, the palace quiets down. The pharaoh takes a walk through the colonnades. Guards keep pace, close but not too close. Trusted staff are nearby. Scribes, servants, the usual cast. He might chat with his wife, or maybe go over something that couldn't wait till morning. Or he'll dictate a note. A quick idea, a thought, maybe just, remind me to yell at someone tomorrow. But then, eventually, he retreats to his bedroom. And it's not any room. It's a gallery of divine protection. The walls are covered in gods, eyes everywhere. And so, he lies down under a painted ceiling, guarded by deities who've clocked in for night shift. Maybe he sleeps alone. Maybe not. Either way, with the doors sealed and guards posted outside, he finally gets some rest. So yeah, it's easy to imagine this figure as this untouchable god pharaoh. But at the end of the day, he was still a guy who needed dinner, entertainment, and sleep. He carried enormous responsibility, yes, but he also lived inside a routine, carefully designed to hold everything together. And when he finally closed his eyes, surrounded by all that divine symbolism and royal decor, there was probably a little moment, just a tiny hint of relief, until sunrise called him back into the cycle all over again.